Not bad. Although I should have gone with a pin board really. Although I had a lot of these lying around, so I thought, sod it. I'll find some screws and up we go. So I thought, good time to actually do a collection video. I'm still trying to figure out sort of good camera angles for this room because normally I don't film in here due to terrible lighting conditions, but it's lovely and bright outside right now, so thought I'd make the most of it. Somebody said to me a little while ago, you do like an updated sort of video on what you've got, because I do have some pretty cool stuff, let's be honest. It's not the biggest collection ever, but it's also definitely not the smallest. I've also got people that like watching my material for my airsoft stuff, which is what I mostly do these days, but also kind of the original things that I'm really into as well, because I'm a massive history nut. So I thought I'd just do it all in one big video, and it might be fun. I'm going to film most of this offhand because it's just easier to get it all in the frame that way. Please excuse my creaky floorboards. So this is like my British set of shelves. I'm slowly adding gear to this. It's not all the British kit, some of it won't fit on there. That's actually a Morse code machine that my grandfather used, so it's actually very old. He did actually wire it up himself, and he did get it to work. So we got put some 37 equipment here. This is the World War II British canteen, which actually has like the corkscrew lid. It doesn't have a screw on. It's always quite something. It's always something that gets people that. We've got a reproduction Webley holster there, a Thompson drum, which I pretty much never use. These are scabbards for the two mainly Enfield bayonets. This is a First World War dated 1907 sheath. It's actually very good nick because I look after my stuff. This is the P37 web equipment, which is what replaced the 1908 web equipment in the British Army. So basically they went to like universal pouches, which are these two. They're worn on either side, same as the 58 pattern and a lot of other webbings really that came after the war. But the idea being they're not made for any specific ammunition or magazine type, so you can fit Thompson magazines in there, Sten magazines, bandoliers of 303 for the Enfield rifle will all go in there, Mills bombs, you name it. So I've currently got this set up in marching order, which means the small pack is on the hip as opposed to on the back. That's actually how I use it for airsoft, because when I bought all this it was really cheap. You can still, excuse me, you can still get it on eBay really cheap now actually, but it's definitely gone up in price compared to years ago. I mean, some of these I paid like, a lot of these pouches I paid like £5 for, if that. So the prices have really gone wild. Just something to note, if you're actually trying to do specific World War II correct pouches, you want ones that have the brass popper, not this post-war fixture, which I'll show you, which is close to like the 58 sort of webbing that came later. The brass buttons are actually correct. I'm not sure if these were used at all in World War II, I'm pretty sure they're post-war. These ones are 50s dated, but we used that stuff for years and years until it was all completely phased out. This is a 5-inch shelf or something, I'm not actually sure what. I should probably put a picture up. And this is where we get into like the 58 pattern stuff. So this is the 58 pattern sort of backpack. 1908 one is there. That didn't really change from World War I or II, it's pretty much the same. The actual like, whole concept of British webbing didn't really change much at all. It was all just done on the pin system belt, which was very good compared to like the German one where everything just sort of slides about. And then under there we've got a Thompson bag, which is actually an original one. So this isn't like all my webbing and kit, this is just stuff I actually use any real amount. The rest of it's not really anything special or worth looking at. So this is British 1958 pattern webbing, which is of course what replaced the 37. So I have it set up for just sort of standard infantry. A lot of guys hated these kidney pouches. I actually quite like them because for what I carry for airsoft, being an M16 with a 203, this is quite good to put your 203 bombs and refilling kit in. This is good for a canteen, or you can have two canteens, doesn't really matter. The dump pouch there is not obviously historically accurate, but it's sometimes you've got to sacrifice a little bit of historical accuracy just to be practical in the airsoft field, I think. And this is actually for the canteen, I think, originally, but I use it to dispose of my empty 203 cases. These are all full of M16 mags. Likewise here, and we've got a holster there which would have been used for like the high power originally, but it will fit a 1911 just as well. I do like 58 webbing actually. I mean, for how old it is, it's actually very decent. We look here to something which is drastically more modern, but in some ways not really much different. This is the Russian Smersh webbing. This is obviously all real stuff at the moment. This actually comes directly from, I think it was Grey Shop. I bought it years ago. I've used it heavily. It's absolutely great. Best thing about it actually is this this small pack, you can actually undo these straps and you can flip it over your front and access it, so you don't have to take your webbing off or get somebody else to open this for you. And that's just such a great design feature. It's almost like modernised Alice pattern webbing in a way, which obviously originates from the US, but they've kind of updated it a bit, so it's made of more modern materials, and it's actually very comfortable. This here is my only like Vietnam kit, so to speak. So that's I believe it's a 7-pouch bandolier for 20 round AR magazines, M16 mags, standard as it would have been at the time. These little short guys here. And this is a flak jacket, which is original. Thanks for that, Danny. It's got a little bit of damage to it, but it was nice to have it, definitely. I'll probably get some more eventually, but yeah, it's not a huge priority right now. Other things going on. Just your ho-hum plate carrier. Forget how much, it was about 100 and something pound one. It's laser cut, which is quite nice, and that's kind of what I use for my modern stuff. A lot of this, I forget the brands, but these are like the real world taco pouches. Scorpion G code, they're actually like the real ones. This is all genuine Safariland stuff. It's just nicer than the replicas. I mean, I could afford it, so I thought why not. And yeah, that's just how I have my battle belt set up, so to speak. So yeah, that's pretty much all the main webbing I actually use. I'm not really crazy on having the latest plate carriers and stuff. I mostly go with the old school. Right, there are quite a lot of guns to look at. There's a number of them there, so I'll speed through this pretty quick. This is all my helmet stuff. Most of these are original. The Pickle Horb obviously isn't. I'm not that rich unless I sold half the stuff in this room to get a genuine one. This is a Norwegian, I believe it's an M31 helmet. I resprayed this in the Norwegian snow camouflage. That was sent to me by Morgan. Shout out to Morgan, good friend of many years. He's always got something cool to send me. These helmets are actually pretty rare because they've made very few of them. There's not many people that I suppose have one really outside of Norway. So this is a World War II, I believe it's 42 dated Mark II suit bowl, tin helmet, whatever you want to call it. Slightly different to the First World War version, but pretty much same in appearance. I cleaned that one up, and it's got original chin strap and everything. Russian tanker helmet, which is 80s dated. I got that out of, ironically, Ukraine many years ago. There was a huge stock of Soviet surplus in Ukraine, because obviously it was part of the USSR for a long time. Underneath there is it's either a Hungarian or a Czech helmet, I forget. It's got an original Russian flora cover on it. This is a German M40 Stahlhelm, which I did up with the grits and everything, although I used it quite extensively for years, doing a German impression, so it's pretty beat up. Original Soviet Pilotka, which I never wore, just got it for collection. Same with the German Feldkap. Original Ushanka, which came out of, Dad got it in the Eastern Bloc somewhere. That was my grandfather's. It's the smallest gun I have, but it's actually like 100 years old. Underneath we've got the German stuff. All of this is original. The only thing that's not is that belt. Yeah, that belt under there. The rest of it's all original stuff. So we got, skimming over some things, got a P38 holster. Very nice condition. Lucky to get that. These are original gas mask tins, M31 I believe. Got this boot, sorry, yeah, that boot nice reproduction, I forgot that. That's a repro, but that's all fine. Gas cape equipment, original belts with the God Mittun's famous German buckle. And here we got a couple of examples of the German gas mask of the day. One in drastically better condition than the other, but I kind of like that it was marked up and everything. So, scabbards and entrenching tools. Bunch of more German stuff, again all original, although these pouches I believe are actually Czech. I bought them off a reenactor years and years ago, and he'd used them for a long time. So they're actually very nice ones. They look a lot better than like the ones on SOF and such. So this is all the Soviet stuff under here. Yeah, so Tokarev holsters, ammo pouches, cleaning kits, F1 grenades, gas masks, all sorts. And hiding at the back here, we've got a whole bunch of Russian stuff. All sorts of webbing, M69, I can't remember what's under there really. So yeah, let's go on to the bang sticks, and I'll start at the top. Sorry about the floor, nothing I can do about it. So this is a 1927 dated Mosin Nagant M90-130. These are inert of course, because UK gun laws are a steaming pile of shit, but I do what I can. This one actually is converted from an ex-Dragoon, so originally it would have had some different parts. It also would have had the front sight hood added and things like that. It was refurbished in Ukraine actually post-war, so considering this gun is actually nearly 100 years old in only a few years' time, absolutely wonderful condition, but it's seen a lot of use obviously in many wars, including both world wars, at least the Mosin family in general. Same with the Mauser, so this is a German 1937 dated S42 marked, which means it's Mauser Obendorf made, so it's made in the original Mauser factory, which is why some people have wanted to buy it off me. It's not like a massively valuable one other than that, it's pretty standard, but it's got all the pre-war features on it, so it doesn't have a front sight hood, it's just got the open blade there. They added the front side hood. Later in the war they'd go to a stamped band instead of the H band. And these, same with most weapons in World War II, they started off nice, but they were sort of simplified over time. They never sacrificed the quality of the action, however. The good old reliable Mauser action always stayed. But this has got an actual hardwood stock as well, as opposed to the laminated one, which will have like a butt cap that comes over the back. Down here is a 1942 dated number 4 Mark I Lee Enfield, so this was the British service rifle officially from 1939 onwards, although it didn't really see any widespread use until the Italian campaign to my knowledge. The SMLE underneath was still the most common. So start the bayonet on that. This is actually the first original rifle I ever bought. I've had this one about 12 years. It's basically got the simplified bolt takedown, bolt removal as well. So normally you'd remove it by bringing it to the back, but they actually added a little cutout there so it'll just flip up. The next one down is my S&T Lee Enfield, so we're getting into the Airsoft replicas now. But this is something I really pride myself in, as adding as many real parts as possible and trying to make them look as convincing as possible. Something that gives it away, unless you like look at the details of the shape of the bolt and that, which gives it away slightly, but we've got a little hop adjustment there which isn't present on obviously the real one because it's a real one. So there are little things that give it away. Although I've added a whole bunch of real parts to this one, so it's got pretty much all the metal from here to the muzzle is original, other than the actual outer barrel itself. So we've got original sight protectors, back sights, slings, loops, same with the back one. Nose cap, bayonet is an original from 1917. It's either Wilkinson or Sanderson marked, I don't remember. But yeah, that's one of my pride custom pieces I've done actually. I'm super happy with that one. And I waited years and years for an airsoft form of this to come out. So I was absolutely thrilled when it did. And I love it. I'll be doing a review on it at some point. So next down we have this MP18. Forget who makes it, some company, whatever. Yet another custom gun. It doesn't have any real parts on it besides the sling, but I did my usual external work to make it look aged and battle worn. So yeah, that's an MP18-1, which is technically not the First World War version, but a post-war modification. So the First World War would have used the Luger Snell drum mag, so the magwell would be at like a 45-degree angle. This was designed to take either the 20 or the 32 round post-war mags. Underneath is an AGM MP40. That was one of the first actually it was the first submachine gun I ever bought. Actually, I've had this one a long time now. It's been used quite extensively. That one was stripped down to bare metal and blued up. I added markings to it and such, so that's one of my other custom pieces. I realised actually I just skipped over an empty space on the wall. That's where the one-off 1928 Thompson usually lives, but she's currently being serviced downstairs, so check out my review on that one. So we go down, we got some more original stuff here, and then I'll swing right. So this is a post-war, I believe it's 1955 dated Mark III Bren. Now I stopped buying DX after the new EU laws came in because they just turned them all to shit, but I got all these beforehand, so they all have working actions and things like that, you know. Everything short of chambering around it will do. So yeah, that's quite a nice piece, probably used a lot in national service. This is when the Brens were still being made in 303. So after this you would have had the L4 with the straight mag when we went over to 7.62 NATO. This is a post-war MG42. It's technically an M53 because it's Yugoslavian, although it's very similar apart from a few minor differences. So one of them is that the M53s don't have the mount for the German anti-aircraft Spider sight, but they will still sit on the anti-aircraft tripod, but they deem that unnecessary. so I suppose they didn't see it as important. But other than that, it's pretty similar. It's got all the main sort of features you'd expect. No German markings because obviously it is a Yugo gun, but mechanically it's an MG42. It looks the part. I've had this one for a long time. So it's got all the sort of parts which these days are just sort of welded up. This will cock and dry fire. All the feed ports and everything still operate, which is nice, because if you can't do that, you know, it's kind of boring to me and it's not worth it. So I'm just happy with what I've got, even though you can't buy ones like this anymore, technically. This is a Soviet 1944 dated Degtyaryov, I'm probably saying that wrong, DP-28. Often gets confused for a Lewis gun, for obvious reasons, although if you sold a whole bunch of these you still wouldn't crack up enough funds for a Lewis gun because they cost a preposterous amount of money, and always have done. I absolutely love the Lewis, but the DP's pretty nice as well. It's a nice historical gun. So it's got this sort of strange and extremely wobbly 47 round PAM mag. Uses 7.62 by 54 Russian round, same as the Mosin SVD PKM that's been around forever. And yeah, it was used right from the 1920s up until it was replaced with it's like a belt-fed conversion of these. Didn't stick around long though, before they went to the RPD and later the PKM, etc. But yeah, it's a nice bit of history. I've always thought they looked pretty interesting. Something that's funny about these is people think that they have like a fixed barrel. They actually don't. They do have a quick change barrel, sort of, but they don't. I don't think they ever carried one. Most of the time in the winter they just smack snow over it or not shoot it for 10 minutes. Here we have one of the pride, well, probably the pride of my original collection actually. I mean, why wouldn't it be? This is a 1910/30 Maxim. I believe it's a /30. Difference being they went to this sort of fluted jacket instead of a smooth one. There was some other little manufacturing differences made, but obviously a Maxim is a Maxim generally. Loads of countries have made them, most notably obviously Russia, Germany in the First World War. The British obviously had the Vickers, which were used for many, many decades. It's essentially the same as the Maxim, but they turned the mechanism upside down so they could take this part of the receiver off, and it has a lot of good materials like titanium parts and that. All insane guns though in terms of longevity and reliability. I still have never managed to sort of find like one of the Finnish hoses with the condenser can and things like that. That would be cool. Finland captured a lot of these and sort of re-stamped them and such. But yeah, they were used extensively in First World War, Second World War, and many conflicts before and between really, but most famous for its use in the First World War probably, due to the trench warfare of the time, and these guns sort of turning the no man's land, along with modern artillery, just turning it into an absolute slaughterfest. So they feed from, back then it was canvas belts. Metal belts weren't really a thing apart from in aircraft. They didn't really become popular on the ground until sort of World War II, right at the end, and post-war mainly, but you're looking at canvas stuff. The Germans had the metal belts in the 34 and 42 machine guns, but everyone else was still using canvas mostly. So they feed from this box, which holds 250 round belt. 250 was about the average for ammunition can back then. This shield itself actually weighs more than most rifles individually, and it's actually got a couple of repaired bullet strikes on there, same with the water jacket. So this is actually where you fill the water in there, because obviously the water surrounds the barrel, so the barrel never gets hotter than the boiling point of water, which is why it's a water-cooled machine gun, keeps it cool. And the steam's actually going to come out of this vent down here when the water starts boiling after 2 or 3 boxes, depending on how fast you're firing. I don't think this one's really had any real YouTube time actually, apart from when I bought it years ago. It sort of briefly appeared, but yeah, never really had a proper look. So internally this is all you get in a Maxim. It's actually pretty simple. So being I got this one years ago, it will still do all this business. And there's the lock. So yeah, it's all still in there, which is nice. I've always loved the Maxim because it has such a fascinating mechanism really, where it's pulling rounds in, grabbing them on the front of the lock here. It's actually referred to as a lock rather than a bolt. Drops them down, loads one into the chamber. At the same time it's chambering around, it's picking up the rim of the case of the next one and disposing the fired case, which is just extracted from the chamber, into a spent cartridge tube which is under the gun, and when there's 2 or 3 rounds in there they'll start to spill out of the front, which is pretty awesome. But other than that, it's like there's not a whole lot to it. It's a lot of empty space in there. But yeah, that's the good old Maxim. Spade grip, safety trigger, bloody blah. A lot of traverse and elevation adjustment. It's like a mini piece of artillery really, but it's an absolutely wonderful gun, full of history. A lot of people that are no longer breathing might not agree with that, but at the end of the day, politicians start wars, don't they? Right, so I'll go on to the pistols then before we go on to the last of the big boys over there. Cheeky peek. So here we got, this is a KJ Works Beretta M9. Never really skirmish it, just wanted an M9. For those that aren't familiar, these are all, apart from the Webley over there and the Tokarev, which is real steel, these are all gas blowback airsoft pistols. So what that basically means is the slides will reciprocate when you fire, and the actual controls are exactly the same as the real gun. So you've got magazines which you load up. When you fire the last shot, for example, there's nothing in this right now, so when I fire it, it'll lock back just like the real one would. Then you got your slide catches and such. So they're all the same in that regard. This is a CZ SP01 Shadow. These are like the Czech 9mm handguns in real life. Obviously there are BB versions here. CO2 1911, which I've added custom fit real grips to. The real Norwegian diamond grips, they look nice. This was the 100th anniversary edition, so I redid the finish because it's got all the real markings and everything. And yeah, very nice gun, that. Moving along, this is my Umarex Glock 17 with a real steel O light on it, which, much to the displeasure of some, contains a strobe light. Very good Glock, that. It's got absolutely wonderful range and accuracy for a toy gun, what's technically a toy gun. So, Walther P38, redid the grips on this so they look a lot more Baker lighty. Never really used that, I just wanted it for collection reasons. Barely used it at all really. Moving along, we've got a, I forget who makes it, but it's a Webley Mark 6 .455 British revolver replica. Does actually open up with the shells, and it's got 6 of them in there as you'd expect. And it does actually eject them if you flick them out like the real steel. Never use it, I've only fired it about once I think, but I didn't really buy it to use it. This is an original Tokarev TT33 Russian-made semi-automatic pistol, patented off the Browning design. It was common in obviously the Second World War until it was replaced in the 50s with the 9mm Makarov, which has been used everywhere since. So it's an 8-shot detachable single stack magazine, 7.62x25. And now the remainder of everything is all airsoft replicas, some of which are very custom, some of which aren't. So this is a GHK AKM. Now, just like the pistols, these 3 here particularly are all gas blowback rifles. So again, those that aren't familiar, it means they have all the real controls. So they've got steel bolts and everything that will cycle every time you fire, and they'll stop when they're empty. This M16 is the same. I'm still working on this one actually. This is absolutely covered in original Vietnam War bits, so all the furniture and some other little parts are all original Vietnam dated, and that thing's actually starting to run really nice now. It's slowly getting there. So it will do everything as you'd expect. So this is a Tokyo Marui MWS, which I've slapped a Mark 16 Geisley on, along with a real steel O-light. O-lights are absolutely brilliant. They're extremely bright flashlights, much better than actual like replica lights. I'll just go with the real one. They just outclass them in every way. So I've got an Elcan Spectre 1-4 on that, which is made by Evo Gear, probably the best one on the market that isn't a real Elcan, I reckon. They've got wonderful quality glass for what's not even a real steel sight. But yeah, I've sort of desert sprayed that one up, man, pulled it up. That's a gas blowback again, so, you know, does all the, it's locking back, does all the functions as you'd expect. Oh yeah, I've got a bad lever on there, haven't I? Forgot that. This is an M16 by, I think it's Swick Custom. It's supposed to be an A1, it's got the wrong barrel, but sod it. It's got an M203 launcher on it, which will actually fire the airsoft gas rounds, or the tag rounds that explode on impact. I don't use those personally because they cost a fortune, but this one's actually electric, along with both of these. AK-12 by Arcturus. So this is like the short version, it's the K version, it's kind of what they're going with now. Although I still think the 74 was better overall, but it's a nice gun. Got a VSR over here, Action Army T10, that's basically a VSR, the magazines live up here. 500 feet a second, UK limits, 30 metre minimum engagement if you're playing Airsoft or something like that, but for a toy gun that's just technically a smoothbore, great range and accuracy. It surprises a lot of people that aren't used to Airsoft, but the guns are actually, they shoot a lot better than you'd think a BB gun would. It's actually pretty surprising. So down here we got one of my favourite pieces of everything I own. This is the PKM. It's originally A&K, but this one, much like the M16 there, I got from a good friend Josh Sapsford. Thanks again, Josh. I've had a ton of fun with this. So, same as the 16, it's got a load of real furniture and other bits all over it, including an original bipod, and it just goes straight on without any real modification, because a lot of Airsoft guns are basically one-to-one when it comes to sort of wood parts, as long as there's not electronics mounted where those parts would go and things like that, which might change the size of things, but short of that, yeah, they're pretty bang on. So this, just like the real one, feeds from a box mag, which isn't currently attached, but it goes up into the gun, and 6,000 rounds of BBs come out if you are crazy enough to shoot that much in one go. Don't recommend it though. This is a British Mini-Me. Originally it was just a standard 249 para, but I've changed parts and added real steel parts on it to actually make it correct for a British Mini-Me. So the heat shield is gone, it's got the SUSAT top rail with the British backside got off D&B Militaria, so that's all been tapped and attached to that, screwed on, bolted on. And that also feeds from the box magazine. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, I suppose. That's everything for now. I'm actually trying to stop buying Airsoft guns because I know this is hardly a huge collection compared to what some people have, but it's getting to the point where I can hardly decide what I want to use half the time. So I'll definitely be getting some more original stuff, I think. But enough of my drivel. That's everything for now, minus the Thompson. She's very sad in pieces downstairs. But thanks for watching, guys. If you do have any questions about anything you've seen, please feel free. And as always, feel free to rate, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.